We're taking a peek into geek culture and sharing our top 10 fandom favorites. Let Your Geek Sideshow presents Geek Culture Countdown. Hey guys, this is Kitty.
And this is Susan.
And welcome back to the Geek Culture Countdown. So this week, we're counting down our top 10 mutant telepaths in Marvel Comics. So, today we put our minds to the test to brainstorm a list of some of Marvel's mightiest mutant telepaths. These X-Men friends and foes prove that brains can beat brawn, even against the deadliest threats. So without further ado, let's get started.
To be honest, I was looking at your notes and I expected a lot worse. Like I was looking at like, oh my gosh, how many puns is she gonna make in this like opening thing about like putting your mind to it and stuff like. I was like, oh, not that many. Good for her. Good for her.
Thank you.
Perhaps I'm rubbing off on you.
Maybe you just read my mind.
Oh, God. I walked right into that one.
All right. So number 10 on our list is the Stepford Cuckoos. So the Stepford Cuckoos are also known as the 3-in-1, and they are a set of incredibly gifted telepathic triplets who were the stars of Professor X's psychic course at the X-Men Academy. They were cloned from Emma Frost through the Weapon Plus program, and so technically they have a couple of thousand siblings, but there were only ever 5 of these clones, these Stepford Cuckoos, who were ever awakened. So originally, they were quintuplets. There were 5 sisters, but 2 of them, named Esme and Sophie, died in an incident with their rival, Kid Omega. So the 3 Stepford Cuckoos who are left are Celeste, Mindy, and Phoebe. These are such
all right.
They're such preppy girl names, but all you need to know is that they
are clones of Emma Frost.
They are.
You get what you're given.
And they are identical to one another, and they're super creepy, hence the name the Stepford Cuckoos. They all possess powers similar to their clone mother, Emma Frost. So the Stepford Cuckoos, 3-in-1, are number 10 on our list.
Oh my gosh. Number 9 is actually someone who it's a little controversial whether she should be allowed on this list or not, but number 9 is Hope Summers. She was the first mutant born after M-Day. She has a lot of different types of abilities, including telepathy, but she mostly mimics the powers of other mutants, and she has been exposed to other like humans with superpowers like Spider-Man, but she can't mimic their powers. She can only mimic the powers of other mutants. So she has a little bit of Rogue. She did cure Rogue when Rogue was in a coma, so there's also that. Mystique brought her there. But Cerebro exploded the exact moment that she was born, which is why,
wow.
Though, even if you look it up on the internet, it says like, Hope Summers' full level of her telepathic abilities have not yet been explored in the Marvel Universe. So I feel like that opens up. She is a relatively new character, only about 10 years old in the Marvel Universe. So I feel like Hope is hope. So she could open up a whole new level of telepathy that maybe we even haven't seen in mutants that have come before her. I can't think of that word. Predate, or I was thinking of like predecessor, but that didn't apply in the context of my sentence.
We used all our brain power putting this list together.
Absolutely,
so you're getting
and
what
we
you
are
get.
not high level telepaths. Let me tell you. So another name for Hope Summers is actually the Messiah, and she was debuted in the Messiah Complex X-Men series. So
all right, that makes sense.
Number 9 is Hope Summers.
All right. Number 8 on our list is another Summers, actually, and a chosen one, if you will. This is Nathan Christopher Charles Summer, who is better known to fans as Cable. He is the mutant son of Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, who is Jean Grey's clone. So he's got some telepathic genes. Oh God, that was not on purpose. I'm sorry.
You didn't even mean to do that. It's just natural. Maybe that's your actual superpower.
Accidental puns. Mm-hmm. So Cable first appeared in the New Mutants 87, and he has a really complex backstory that I couldn't fit in one section of notes here, but it takes him through multiple timelines where he was believed to be the chosen one able to defeat Apocalypse. He has telepathic and telekinetic abilities, but the strength of these powers have varied in his different appearances. Sometimes his powers are preoccupied with keeping his techno-virus infection at bay. He's been able to levitate an entire city, and in some instances, he claims that his telepathic powers and telekinetic powers have completely faded away. So it varies every time he appears throughout the time stream.
Interestingly enough, he became the like guardian of Hope Summers for a long time as well. And she actually started to like that. Her telepathy mimics his a lot of times because she's in proximity to him so much, and he trained her in all her fighting abilities. So
very cool.
Number 9 and number 8 are kind of connected in another way.
I think a lot of these characters are kind of connected in certain ways.
Oh, really? What makes you say that? Is it because number 7 is Legion, the son of Charles Xavier? David Charles Haller, the son of Charles Xavier, also known as Legion, has telekinesis, pyrokinesis, telepathy, and the ability to absorb the full consciousness of others.
Ooh.
Right, because that's not like intimidating at all as a superpower. In addition, Legion has also demonstrated the psionic abilities of time travel, shape-shifting, and a formation of a psychic knife. So he can basically do whatever he wants with his brain. But the like kind of the coolest and most interesting thing about Legion to me is the fact that he broke into different personalities because they didn't know what was going on with him for a very long time. So by the time he was found by the mutants and found to be a mutant, he had already broken off into distinct personalities that had various forms of his abilities. They'd taken different personalities on their own, including Jack Wayne, who was the one who used the telekinesis, Cindy used the pyrokinesis, and Jamail used the telepathic abilities that he had. So the sad thing about this is because of his multiple personalities and his kind of unruly powers, he thought he was killing. He wanted to go back in time to kill Magneto to stop the whole brotherhood and everything that happened, and he accidentally killed his dad instead.
Oh no!
Because he's just kind of a little unstable. However, Professor X chose to die in that particular timeline. It's very confusing and very complicated. There's lots of stuff involving Bishop, and Bishop also traveled into... Anyway, you know what? We'll just leave it at Legion has a lot of personalities, a lot of powers. He's hard to control. He killed his dad. Bishop got involved, and then Legion died.
Try to wrap your brain around that one.
So I'm looking at all my notes and if I say that, then I have to explain this. And then if I say that, then I have to... You know what? There you go. There's the basics. Number 7, Legion.
Number 6 on our list is Quentin Quire, and I'm getting the sense
that
that...
5 times fast.
Oh, no. Just wait till I read his full name. But I'm getting the sense that a lot of these telepaths can tend to have a big head about their abilities. And yes,
oh my
pun
God.
intended. This is just...
Kitty.
So... Quentin Quire is one of the more modern Marvel mutants. He was introduced in the new X-Men. Quentin Quire is an modern. I can't even say it.
It sounds like I am the very model of a modern Major General.
Modern Marvel mutant.
Yeah, Quentin Quire is the modern Marvel mutant.
And he was introduced in the new X-Men in 2003. His full name is Quintavious Quirinius Quire, but he's mostly known as...
Is he also in Harry Potter?
He's also known as Kid Omega, who we've mentioned before. He is famous for his pink hair and his punkish attitude, and he's an Omega-level telepath and an incredible genius, and he can create psionic physical constructs as weapons, kind of like Legion. So, as if he didn't have a big enough head about all of this already, he was recently the host to the Phoenix Force, which he had to sacrifice. We all know
what a great job that Phoenix Force does.
Oh, yeah. Nothing ever goes wrong with Phoenix hosts.
Yeah.
But he actually, in a very, very selfless move, he sacrificed his shard of the Phoenix Force to save Jubilee, who had been thrown out into the sun without her amulet that protects her vampire powers, and he actually restored her firework powers, so she's not a vampire anymore.
Hilarious, because I'm just do people know she's a vampire? Because she was a vampire, and then now
she's not anymore.
Yeah, because anyway.
But he sacrificed his Phoenix Force powers to make sure Jubilee was safe.
I actually liked when she was a vampire, sidebar. Anyway.
It was a pretty cool story. But he's also such a strong telepath that he was able to exist without a body for a while. He was a mind in a jar for a while. So that's number 6 on our list, Quentin Quire.
Wow. I feel like he should have been higher. Anyway, number 5 is not the best dude. that has ever come into the X-Men universe, though many consider him to be the first mutant. Number 5 is Apocalypse. En-Sabah-Nur was born nearly 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt as a member of the tribe Inakaba. He was born with his mutation of gray skin and blue lips and was rejected by his tribe and forced to wander the desert. He has been augmented by alien technology as well as being born a mutant. However, he claims that his whole telepathic ability allows him to control his body down to the molecules that exist within it.
Wow.
So he can shape change into anything based on like how he molds his own molecules. That's at least what he says he can do.
He would have to have an incredible understanding of the molecular structure of life.
He is 5,000 years old.
That's
so
true. He had some time to read up.
He could learn. But in addition to that, the shape-changing ability, he also can elongate with unlimited range, increase his density of his body. He can mimic metals. He can teleport, and he is immune to the effects of age, which obviously makes sense. If you can like mentally alter the molecules of your body, obviously you can make yourself forever young. So there you go. Number 5 is Apocalypse. I was going to get into like more of his details, but I realized again what a convoluted story that would be. So let's just leave it at number 5, Apocalypse.
These X-Men are like a soap opera.
I know. I know.
So number 4 on our list is Emma Frost. Emma Grace Frost, the White Queen. She is an Omega-class telepath who is also capable of transforming herself into an organic diamond state, because diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Are they, though?
I mean...
Because Emma Frost, not so much.
That is true. She has also been a host to the Phoenix Force, and her abilities are said to rival that of Charles Xavier himself. And she has overcome the likes of other mutants like Nate Gray, Kid Omega, and Rachel Summers, and she can broadcast and receive the thoughts of others and alter memories within the brain. And she also has latent telekinesis. But as I was researching this, I just had to think, like, how crazy is it to just have everybody's thoughts broadcast into your...
I think that every time Cerebro gets brought up.
Because there's got to be, especially for a beautiful character like Emma Frost, like you
have to have blockers.
To know what everyone is thinking at all times that's horrible.
Okay, so one of my favorite instances of how Emma Frost actually handles it is in like, again, I apologize to people because I know that this storyline a lot of people don't like, but when Joss Whedon was writing, I think it was Astonishing X-Men.
Yes.
Yes. She was dating Cyclops at the time,
mm-hmm.
and he was thinking about Jean Grey, so she projected into his mind that she looked like Jean Grey to mess with him.
Oh no.
And he was like, "Oh my God, Jean's alive." And she was like, "No, I just thought that you'd rather have me look like this." And like true, like,
ooh.
you know, like Ice Queen form that Emma Frost is. Like, it was kind of amazing because I just remember being like, "Oh, that's cold." So now
Emma Frost.
Yeah, I was like, so now who's with the puns? So that was probably one of my favorite like Emma Frost moments where it's like you heard a thought you probably shouldn't have heard, so you got kind of aggressive about it.
I mean, if that's what you're going to use your Omega class telepathy for, that's as good a reason as any. So that is why Emma Frost is number 4 on our list.
Number 3 is Psylocke, also known as Betsy Braddock. Betsy Braddock has a lot of mind abilities, including telekinesis, telepathy, and precognition.
Ooh.
Which is kind of cool. She also is one of those people who can make the constructs out of psychic energy. She usually uses the form of a blade. She was created by Chris Claremont as a supporting character to Captain Britain. In fact, she's supposed to be Captain Britain's twin, which I actually didn't know until I was doing this research. Like, to me, Psylocke is so different than that. That I just completely forgot about that whole Captain Britain origin.
I remember that his last name is Braddock. His first name is now escaping me.
Yeah.
But oh, wow, they're siblings.
They're siblings. But It was so like a sidebar, kind of interesting, maybe only to me, story is that there's been a lot of controversy over how she spells her name, whether it is Elizabeth with an S or Elizabeth with a Z. Now, Chris Claremont wrote it with a Z, and then as she was taken over and more developed in like things like New Mutants and Exiles and other storylines, it was transformed into an S. But when Chris Claremont took her book back, he changed it back to a Z, and
goodness.
it's been a Z ever since. So respect Chris Claremont is the like moral of that story, as I'm very, very well do.
Does he also spell Betsy with a Z?
No, he spells Betsy with an S. But Betsy Braddock was trained by Magneto when she was found to be a mutant because he was actually taking over the school at that point in the absence of Professor X, and Sabretooth was the one who actually inducted her into the X-Men itself.
Wow.
So Betsy Braddock, aka Psylocke, has an amazing history with the X-Men and is a very high-level telepath and telekinetic warrior. So she took our number 3 spot on the list.
All right, number 2 on our list. We're really getting up there now in terms of like these people. The power level is increasing so exponentially.
I know.
But the fact that like even Emma Frost like overcame like half of the list before her, it's getting insane. So number 2 on our list is Jean Grey. Jean Grey is one of the most notable mutants in all of X-Men continuity.
I mean, yeah.
She is another Omega level mutant, and for those of you who, I mean,
we should probably explain what that means since we've used it like 6 times in this podcast already.
Well, if you think about all the X-Men, some people get cooler powers than others. I mean, there is the worst X-Men ever series was about a kid whose power was to explode only once. So that's a terrible X-Men power to have. But some of these other mutants...
the X gene manifests in mysterious ways.
But Omega level mutants tend to have, some of them can have like nigh immortality, these immense telepathic powers, the ability to affect reality. So if you're an Omega level, I mean, you're the top of the top X-Men. So she is another Omega level mutant. She was also the physical manifestation of the cosmic Phoenix Force. So we've mentioned the Phoenix Force several other times here. When her powers first manifested, they were so strong that she was unable to cope with her ability. Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of drove her crazy.
I call that phase emo Jean Grey.
So she had to go to Professor X, who helped suppress her powers and then gradually reintroduced her powers as he trained her to use them before he eventually reopened her full potential. As the Phoenix, she can rearrange matter at a subatomic level. So
take that, Apocalypse.
And she can manipulate cosmic energies to disrupt the very fabric of reality itself. So she's
like okay in terms of power.
I mean, once you get your hands on that Phoenix Force, it's crazy. And so the Dark Phoenix saga is notably one of like it's
been adapted so many times,
and it's quintessential for so many people that
and
I know
don't even want to read it, which you should. Well, if you don't want to read it, don't listen to this podcast. But if you
too late,
yeah, we tricked you. But also, the X-Men animated series in the 90s did a perfect rendition of it through several episodes in the series.
Yeah, so
it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so Jean Grey is just Jean Grey Phoenix. Marvel Girl was also her other name.
Yeah,
and she's just all over the place, literally, and she's just been. So
she's in the fabric of reality itself.
She is. So, of course, Jean Grey had to take the number 2 spot on our list.
I would also like to point out that Jean Grey is like one of those characters that even when she's dead in the comics,
which happens a lot if your name is Phoenix and you always rise from the ashes.
But if you think about it, she's one of the only characters who doesn't like disappear. She's always affecting the characters themselves, including... And I'm segueing into our number 1, Charles Xavier. Like she's to say that she exists on a subatomic level is like not even kind of an exaggeration because she's like a part of everyone who's around her. But number 1 on our list is Professor Charles Xavier, because we wouldn't have all these other characters if we didn't have his school for gifted youngsters. He was, the one that brought them all together and started finding mutants but in addition to that, he's also a genius level intellect, has vast telepathic abilities. He has mind reading, mind control, memory manipulation, astral projection, which we
Ooh.
haven't seen on this list yet, and actually can attack people psychically, which is very cool when you think about it. He doesn't really use it all that often, but, you know.
Because he's always such the image of a pacifist, but
Yeah.
he has this
has
immense ability.
Exactly. And that's what I think is so crazy cool about him, is that he has these immense abilities and only uses them for good. So we put him at number 1 on the list because I would actually say Jean Grey is probably more powerful than he is, but because without him, we wouldn't have everybody else.
And without Professor Xavier, Jean Grey wouldn't have been able to cope with her insane amount of powers.
So Professor Charles Xavier takes the number 1 spot on our list because he's everybody's dad. He brought us all together. He's the one who makes us all feel okay when we're not. So thank you, Professor Charles Xavier. You're a fictional character, but somehow you transcend that into the realm of reality.
All right, so to quickly recap our list, just in case you guys missed any of it. Number 10, we have the Stepford Cuckoos. Number 9, we have Hope Summers. Number 8, Cable. Number 7, Legion. Number 6, Quentin Quire. Number 5, Apocalypse. Number 4, Emma Frost. Number 3, Psylocke. Number 2, Jean Grey. And number 1, Professor Charles Xavier.
That's a really good list.
That is a really good list. Mutants are so cool.
And it's funny because we actually thought about this list and scrapped it at one point. Like, this was supposed to be a podcast months ago.
This was supposed to be our first podcast.
I know.
Ever.
And we were like, you know what? We need to not do this one right now.
But that's okay because I think we had time to
perfect
really,
it.
really sit and think about it.
Uh-huh.
So, all of you guys listening out there, what did you think of our list? We're not mind readers, so if we missed someone that you think should be on this list, be sure to check out our blog and tell us your own favorites at geeksideshow.com. And that was the top 10. Oh my God. I wrote the wrong thing. I'm not a mind reader.
Mutant Telepaths in Marvel Comics.
That was the top 10 mutants in Marvel Comics. Mutant Telepaths.
Oh my gosh, Kitty, quit while you're ahead.
Yeah, I destroyed this. I'm so sorry. Top 10 mutant telepaths in Marvel Comics. Thank you for listening. This has been your Geek Culture Countdown. For more ad-free pop culture news and content, visit geeksideshow.com. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to let your geek side show.